What's good, everybody? I'm Jędrek, he's Sodek, and today we are gonna talk about past, present, and the future. Let's go. Alrighty, so the end of 2022 is upon us. This is our last video of the year, seeing as we are recording it on 20th of December. We will take a nice Christmas break to enjoy some quality time with friends, family, and all that jazz, watching Lord of the Rings, doing things that we love.
Yet again, yeah.
Yet again. And then we'll be back in January for more Magic. But we decided that we will take this time to record a video, fairly typical one, to be honest. Just a retrospective on how the year looked, what we liked Magic-wise in 2022, what we disliked, what do we think about like bans that happened from the perspective of those lures got banned like 9 months ago. How do you feel about it now? How compared to how did we feel about it back then? Yorion ban, which is more recent. How do we like the current format compared to what was happening, like, I don't know, beginning of the year or during like summer? And then finally, what do we wish for in 2023? So to start on a positive note, seeing that we are reasonably positive people in general, Sodek, what did you like the most about 2022 Magic-wise?
Magic-wise, the first thing not that many things actually, because like I'm thinking from the beginning. Okay, banning of Lurus was fine. I liked it, but it's kind of negative because you ban something. Then the release of Boseju was a nightmare for me because I was a very dedicated Belcher player then, and it was a really pain for me. Then Living End was kind of good for a long time, and maybe winning with Living End was the best idea. Okay, Magic-wise, it will sound crazy, but the limited of Kamigawa was cool, and I really liked it.
That's a very good answer. I was super surprised seeing that a good amount of people did not like that limited. Like,
what?
I think Ari Lax said that it's one of the worst limited formats in the last 2 or 3 years that he played, or like at least it was like a part of the same problem that has been happening with limited for some time right now. I'm very rarely playing limited. Usually, if I don't have a limited tournament to prepare it for, I only play a pre-release and then maybe like a draft or two. But we've had our Polish nationals in April, and they featured Kamigawa limited in the very late stage of the format. The latest it could have been, because it happened right on the pre-release week of New Capenna. So it was a very like solved, let's say, or advanced stage of the format. But I enjoyed it tremendously. I thought it was really cool. I really like that there was a lot of common mana fixing. So you could play like a 5-color or multicolor or splash easily in general. But also aggressive decks were pretty great.
Yeah, that was
and
so cool.
Like every aggressive combination was good in somewhat unique way, which was cool. And you just could have done whatever you wanted in that format, more or less. Like, of course, in the scope of playing limited still. So yeah, Kamigawa limited, very nice. I did enjoy Brothers War limited as well, from the very limited sample I've got, because I only played the pre-release. I can imagine how playing like large stake tournament with all those retro framed powerful artifacts would be kind of bad. But for like pre-release or drafting on your FNM and stuff like that, I think it was a really cool format to play. I had no occasion to play. I played Zero Limited of Capina and Zero Limited of Dominaria because during Capina pre-release we had our nationals, and during Dominaria's pre-release I was away on holiday, so I couldn't. I didn't try either of those, but I've heard that Dominaria Limited was pretty good as well. I think Capena Limited was kind of universally disliked.
Yeah, like I after my very like okay differently. Uh, After I liked Kamigawa so much, I was very hyped on playing another limited format, and like 1 week after people were playing it and how Band was better than everything else, I decided to just not even try to play it, and maybe it was the right call after all because we had more time for modern.
Seems like it, yeah. But going back to our favorite things about 2002, I think it will be a very boring answer, but I think that it's gotta be the return of paper play. Magic is a great game, and playing Modo is a perfectly fine way to spend some enjoyable quality time, but going with your friends, playing those events, it's just nothing like it. You know this scene from another great movie, the first Harry Potter movie, when Harry at the end is going back to London, and Hagrid says to him like, "You're going home now," and Harry says, "This is my home," and he points at Hogwarts. And at the beginning, I think of the second movie when they are like going with the boats to Hogwarts, he was like, "I'm home," and I have a very similar feeling when I enter yet another convention center full of like sweaty Magic players, and yes, that's home. That's what feels right. Like, for example, I was in Barcelona this last week. Yeah, like week and a half ago at this point, almost 2 weeks. And it was as average of a convention center as you could ask for, because it was nothing spectacular at all. But it was, at the same time, it was the biggest event in Europe after Bologna. It was like over 500 people and a good amount of people playing like side events. So it was actually like crowded, and it just felt right. Like Magic players everywhere.
Yeah, let's go.
It's just, yeah, paper Magic is the reason that I think vast majority of people play Magic. Like there are some really big advantages of Modo. I think, like for example, I think Modo is a perfect place to play a PTQ. PTQ is a perfect Modo tournament. Play 9 or 10 rounds. You play it from your home on like Sunday afternoon. You can watch TV between rounds or make yourself something to eat, and you sit in your comfy sweatpants and stuff like that. I think PTQ is the perfect tournament to play on Modo, but
Yeah,
those like
sadly,
GPs or Opens are just...
yeah. Speaking of PTQ, like, they are comfy to play, but they are also the hardest tournaments to win in
Oh yeah,
Magic,
that's
generally
true.
speaking. So that's the price to pay for it. But still, like, I feel that MTGO is a great way to learn how to play better. So when you go to paper tournaments, you have bigger chances, better chances
Oh,
to do
for
well.
sure.
So from my perspective, when it was like during pandemic, for example, when I was forced to play like on MTG all the time, it was kind of boring at the end of the day. Maybe not of the day, but after a few months of doing it. And right now, when I'm playing MTGO, I still have in mind that, like, keep it in mind that there's a bigger tournament somewhere to play, and that changes the whole perspective of playing on MTGO, because after a rough day, you go like 3-2 to 3 a league, and then yeah, maybe I don't want to play anymore. And during pandemic, it would uh, maybe not force me, but not encourage me to play more. But now I'm happy to open Moto the next day and try again and again and again. Maybe check something out,
Yeah,
etc.
that's definitely the case. Like, as nice as play like Paper Magic is, I think it's also very important to have some organized play incentive, like Pro Tours and Worlds and everything, because without those, you won't have those big events for the
Yeah.
most part. I
Quick
think.
question: What do you think about the current system? Because like this year we got the system, and it's finally like it works like it should be, and generally, in my opinion, it's kind of nice that you have this level of you play RCQ, then you play local like European, American, and Asian local qualifiers into one big Pro Tour.
You have
And
way more than those three, but still, like you have 10
yeah, but
different regions. But yeah, like I think that the system is really nice. I think that the system is something that shows that WotC are aware of the fact that their competitive base of players are no longer those like 20-year-old people like back in, I don't know, like early 2000s when like, people like Finkel, like Kai Bude, like, I don't know, Kibler, stuff, people like those Hall of Famer Magic players that you just think about right now when you think about like, oh, greatest player of all time, like Polo, Finkel, Kai, Nassif, whatever. Like they used to be like, 20, 25 years old. But now those players that they kind of like build those system upon, they are now old I guess. They're actual adults with like families and 9 to 5 jobs and everything like that. So they can't afford to take every other weekend to go and play a GP. And this system is basically you get like 48 or 64 or 20 or 32 or whatever, a bigger amount of slots than a GP usually had, like compressed into one event. So if you have 32 slots, like that's the equivalent of like what, 4 GPs, and those events will be much smaller than GPs because they're invite only. Sure, you have to qualify for them first, but those qualifications are somewhat easy, definitely way easier than it was to like, I don't know, win a PTQ or have a good
like this
GP tournament.
PTQ, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like a PPTQ. So you basically have to win like PPTQ to qualify for this event. And you play only one event each, like 4 months, like 3 seasons per year. And you have a fairly good chance to qualify for this PT. So if you are qualified for the PT, you are also qualified for the corresponding RPT, regional championship, yeah, RC. So you don't have to even qualify via like RCQs to those if you are already qualified for the PT. So in total, you have 6 events each year, 3 RCs and 3 PTs that you play, which is way lower commitment than going to like 2 GPs per month or something like that, or even 1 GP per month plus PTs. It's like 1 GP per month plus PTs is like 16 events, and this is 6. Worlds is 7th if you do really, really well. So like, I really like this system for people who are, especially like because it takes into the account people that don't have that much time on their hand. Like for example, I would go to every GP in Europe probably. I can go to the GP every 2 weeks or something, but I understand that I'm not like an average person, both in terms of means and like resources I have, both time and like financial, to just fly everywhere. Well, unless you get flights for like 15 euros, because we were talking with Sodek earlier. I'm going to Trieste in the beginning of January, and my flights are like 15 euros. So I spiked like really. I haven't spiked flights that cheap, like in the last 5 years probably or something like that, but that's not the topic. In general, I do like the system with RCs and PTs, and I really like RCs. Like after going to Sofia, even though I had to win my last chance in Sofia, and it was like 200 player event and top 16 qualifies, and I went 7-2 and qualified. Then I lost my win into day 2. But in general, even not doing super well in that event, even though I was, of course, like satisfied with the fact that I qualified via the last chance. So I basically like top 16 to a PTQ, like an actual PTQ, and then went it wasn't terrible. I was 5-4, so it's like an okay result. It's not great, but it's also not like terrible. I still felt like this is this like international event to the point when like many people I saw, like I saw many people on Twitter and stuff comparing those RCs to like RPTQs, which is like it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit as hell, because you can qualify to Worlds of these RCs. Like the fact that you can qualify to Worlds and you get to play for pretty nice cash, and you have much more PT slots than RPTQs had. And you basically, you get to play with the best players in your region. So those events are much more akin to the RPTs that happened like right before COVID. It's like Brussels, Phoenix, and there was one in Japan, I think. I don't remember where it was in Japan, but I think that RCs are basically spiritual successors of those events, and I think the system is really nice. I also really like that Worlds are going back to being those bigger events. Like I think that they were estimating 128 players roughly at Worlds when they announced the system. And I very vaguely remember that Worlds tournament because one of my very first competitive tournaments were the last nationals that happened in the old system, like 2010, I think it was, maybe 9. It was either 2009 or 2010. It was the Coblade standard, or after Jace got banned and Stoneforge got banned. So after Jace and Stoneforge banned, so it had to be 2010. Yeah, so I vaguely remember like watching like some live transmission or reading about it, even because I don't know if there were like Twitch streams back then of Magic tournaments. I just can't recall. But still, like those tournaments sounded super cool, and I am much bigger fan of those slightly bigger but not too big events, rather than having those like 24 people playing 14 rounds and cutting to top 4 at like 9-5 on tiebreakers or whatever events.
Yeah, that was kind of.
I really am a fan of just bigger events. That's it, basically. Like not too big once again, but this is a very nice size for like Worlds tournament to me, like around like 100 players. So you can actually like an actual human being can qualify to those now. You don't have to spike a tournament to go to another tournament and spike that tournament or something like that. You just have to spike like one tournament. You have to spike your RC or just do well consistently, like really well on like PT level. So that's really nice. Overall, I think that this system might be my favorite so far. One thing I don't like about it is that WotC doesn't pay for flights for the actual PTPT. Because I know that, for example, I've heard that like in China and in Japan and Asia in general, flights from Asia to Philadelphia are like $2,000 or whatever. They're like ridiculously expensive. So that sucks as hell. So I would like WotC to like WotC had like insane profits, of course, and it's not like they have to pay. Like I guess it's a similar amount of cash they had to. Yeah, it's probably the similar amount of money they had to pay before. In the like old system, it's still like 3 PTs. It used to be 4, I guess, but still.
It used to be 4, but then there were 300 players or more than that. So
Oh yeah,
it's cheaper than nowadays.
Yeah, because those PTs will be like probably like 400 or 500 people. Plus they have worlds, but still, you have so much money as WotC, and you like it's such a small drop for you to just support this organized play system better. I think like that's one of my wishes for 2023, that WotC fund plane flights to actual PTs and worlds. I really would like that to happen. But yeah, the new organized play system, very in plus. I also definitely speak from a perspective of a person living in Europe, where we kind of have like GPs, quote unquote, which I think is a very nice part of the system. There were of course some troubles, some low attendance events, but we are back on the right track. And I would definitely miss those events if I was like from States or anywhere else in the world than Europe, probably. So I really like that part. Big props to Legacy for making the system the way it is, because I think it was their decision to like go with like GP style events. So yeah, I like the system very much. In general, I would say that I liked most things that happened in 2022. I have very few things I dislike about it and about like current state of modern and organized play, I guess.
Yeah, like the only thing that I would like to change in the future is that what happens in the lowest bracket, not RCQs, and the fact that Wizards gave up control on how different organizers do things in different regions. For instance, in Europe, you pay twice as much for organizing an RCQ than in US. So that's kind of strange, in my opinion.
Oh, it's not really, but you have to pay if you win an RCQ in States. You have to pay like $80 or $100 to play in the RC. So what Legacy did, they basically shifted that payment from the player to the store. That's basically what they did. Which you can argue whether it's a good thing to do.
I feel that like there are some regions in Europe when they just don't play RCQs because organizers does not want to pay extra money for it.
Yeah, like that makes sense. But also
I would the last thing I would change is maybe to do something with the like how big RCQs are, because there are some RCQs for 8 people, there are some RCQs for 80 people or 100, and you still get one slot in each of those. And maybe something that, you know, after like you have more than 64 people, maybe you get 2 slots, something like this. Maybe it would solve the thing.
Like you can buy more slots, but it costs you more money, of course. But yeah, I kind of dislike the fact that some people will have to win those like 70 or 80 per people event, and some scraps can just go to their local tournament that has like 5 players and then get incredibly lucky and qualified with rhinos. And we're not gonna point any fingers, but yeah, like I think it's just a problem that kinda can't really be solved, I think, unless like this problem can't be solved apart from WotC putting more money into the system. They basically would need to put more money into the system. It's the same with flights. It's the same with the price of organization of those tournaments. Like, I guess that's the biggest wish. WotC, please put more money into organized play.
WotC,
Maro,
give money.
Iron Duke, if you are watching this video for some completely unexplainable reason, please put more money into organized play. But yeah, so we said about what we liked about this year. Is there anything you dislike about how like Modern looked or is looking right now, or anything like that, or Pioneer, or whatever format you played?
I played Modern, like more Modern in the first half of the year. Now I'm playing more Pioneer. And in terms of Modern, the only thing I would change is not printing Boseju, maybe, because I would love to play Belcher more, and now with Boseju is kind of tricky. It's still, good combo deck, but it would be much better without Boseju around. And I, generally speaking, as much as I like adding of, I would like to say, bad Kamigawa lands, like Sokenzan in Pioneer is kind of cool because you play just one of, and sometimes you create tokens, and that's fun. Otawara is problematic. Like it can be easily added to a lot of different decks, and you have this one extra spell all the time. And I feel that Bosejo in the current form is a bit too powerful. But that's me. I'm a washed up
Belcher player. So. Yes, but what's the best of those 5 lands in Pioneer in your opinion?
In Pioneer,
I think it's just Otawara, right? I think Otawara is the best one in Pioneer.
And Ganjo is also kind of nice because it fits naturally into humans.
I think Takenuma is just the worst one in general.
Yeah. Like the effect is too costly, in my opinion.
It's just Takenuma is the worst one. Then it's probably Eiganjo, Sokenzan in Modern, and Sokenzan and Eiganjo in Pioneer. And then Otawara and Boseju are decisively 2 best ones in like basically any format. I really like Otawara. I think it's just such a cool card. It's strong. It is strong. But it also, I like how in the formats in which you just need your lands to do something else so much often, because in Standard you can just you just have to play like 25 lands in your deck or whatever because you need to make your land drops.
Yeah, you have more mana sinks, and that's not a problem. In Modern, kind of afford to.
Yeah, but in older formats like Modern, having those lands that do something else is really powerful. But also the cost of having such a land in your deck is so much higher because like it's kind of like a basic, but you can't fetch it. And also like it's like legendary, so you can play like, I guess legendary does not matter if you only play 1 copy, but still like it's a basic you can't fetch, and it doesn't work like with Blood Moon and with some other wacky things that cares about basics. Like I think the cost of having it in your deck is actually quite high, or like higher than people realize. Like it's not a free land.
It's just free, but it's like the power level makes it worth.
Yeah, I'm definitely speaking from the position of someone who is very often playing Otawara alongside Blood Moon. Which is definitely like the biggest cost you have. Like if you are playing like a deck with Blood Moons, like I don't know, Merctides or Rhinos, those lands that are kind of like basics but not really are a fairly big cost. But like I think Otawara is a very cool card. I think it's also probably the one with most appropriate cost. Like Boseju is way too cheap, and Takenuma and Sokenzan are way too expensive, I think. Wait, Takenuma is way too expensive, and Boseju and Sokenzan is probably like 1 mana too expensive. And I can see like, I think a Ganjo for 2 mana would be dumb for Standard, but a Ganjo for 2 mana would be okay for Modern, I think. But would it really change anything? Would you really play like a Ganjo more often in Modern if it costs like one less mana? Not really.
I would be more happy when drawing it, but that's it. I would play the same amount of copies
Yes, I guess
in the next
so.
set.
But yeah, those lands,
Okay,
pretty cool. I
yeah,
like them.
and in the second half there I was playing Pioneer more, and I had really high hopes for Abs and Greasefunk. Really, I really wanted this deck to be good, but after playing
What
countless
did I
hours of this
said?
deck,
Like
yeah,
from day one, what was I saying? Every single time we were talking about Pioneer, Grisfang sucks ass. Grisfang is just terrible. Grisfang cannot win against Fiery Impulse. Of course, I'm over exaggerating now, but in
yeah.
general, Grisfang is just not a good deck.
The biggest problem, like I was thinking a lot about Greasefunk and what wizards have to print to make the deck like better and actually in tier 1.5 territory. In my opinion, the biggest problem is the lack of good vehicles, because nowadays you have to like do a lot of things, spend a lot of mana, spend a lot of cards, and build your whole deck around putting vehicles into graveyard and like have uh, Greasefunk or tutors for Greasefunk on reanimation effects of Greasefunk, like a lot of Greasefunks, I would say, to return them. And after you spend so much energy on doing it, you attack for 4 and create 3/2 tokens if you return a Seeker's Chariot. And that's not the payoff I expect after doing so much work.
Yep.
Like returning Parhelion is fine, but I think the deck needs another extremely powerful vehicle to be really good, because
I think it's
now
kind of. I think it kind
nothing.
of requires like a middle ground between Esika's Chariot and Parhelion. Something that costs like 6 mana, so it's castable, like realistically castable. But at the same time, it's more powerful than Esika's Chariot. Uh, I don't know if.
Yeah,
I guess it can be as powerful as Parhelion because the deck is pretty bad, so you want to boost it. So you actually want to print a card that's like good in this deck. So yeah, like basically something on par with Parhelion. Um, but
like
um,
it can be something like when you enter the like attack with this vehicle, like destroy a creature, then put 2 tokens, whatever. Like something that maybe does not kill the opponent that as quickly, but it's
but
kind
impacts
of
the board a
stable.
lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And Echika Chariot is just not good enough, in my opinion. And the fact, like, it's really cool that you can build Greasefunk in many different ways. You can build Turbo Greasefunk with more one drops and um, Eldritch Evolution to tutor and have very stable turn for Greasefunk. And you can build your deck to kinda always return, like attempt to return something on turn 3. That's cool. You can also build it in a more mid-range way with Lilianas, more discard, even silence to protect your guy. But like, again, you play silence just to make sure that your discard your Greasefunk connects, and then you attack for 4 and create 3 tokens. That's
I think you
just
basically need something like I don't know, like a Sky Sovereign that
but better.
instead of like killing or attack on ETB or attack, you don't deal 3 damage to creature or planeswalker, you destroy non-permanent or something like that. But at the same time, you kind of have to make it non-colorless and non-green. So mono green can't play it. Like I don't know, it has to be like white and black vehicle, something like that. Like, I
I
don't know.
believe in Pyrexia. I really believe that we'll see a good vehicle in Pyrexia.
I don't know,
I really,
Elesh
I would
Norn's
love.
Lamborghini or something like that, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Who knows? I also had very mixed feelings about Lotus Field. Like there was a long time when people were saying that yeah, Lotus Field deck sucks and shouldn't be played. Nowadays, it's considered one of the best decks in the format. Uh, like people were talking about banning Nykthos, and like when you check the results of the last few Pioneer challenges, like Nykthos is like the last week we saw one Nykthos at a 4-3. That's it, and the rest is like nothing to be seen. And it's not because like there are like hate decks like Mono Blue Spirits or Humans around. Like other decks found a way to stop it. like kill early creatures. After all, it's a ramp deck, and you can stop happening like these big things from happening and win later.
Yeah, like
So yeah, go on.
I think that most people who want to buy ban Nykthos, it's not because the deck is too overpowered, it's because the experience of playing against it and with it just sucks. It's just not a very
Yeah,
satisfactory experience to be on either
kind of.
side. And like it's, if I think, a pretty universal opinion. But yeah, like I don't think that green is too strong, but not by a long shot. But just that's not a very satisfying deck to either play with or play against. But yeah, so like
My okay, no, go on.
yeah, you wanted to like finish your
Yeah, my overall thoughts about Pioneer is that it's better than people say it is, and it's still unexplored. There are some other decks that are waiting to be found. Like for instance, teamwork creativity decks. I'm working on the list. I'm not sure if my take is correct, and maybe going for this more controlish mid-range stuff post sideboard is a way to go. I'm trying to avoid playing Hurbreaker Horror because playing 7-drop it's not what I like to do.
oh, you would
But
rather play like 11 drop that you can't cast.
yes, exactly.
Makes sense.
So, like 11 drop that I cheating to play on turn 5 and win. That's better in my opinion. But sometimes it doesn't, and that's a problem. There are like old new takes on decks, like Gruul midrange with Esika Chariot, Sky Sovereign. The deck evolved a bit. Nowadays, it's a good red-green aggro deck, like mid-range aggro, so like something in between of these two. There's some 5-color fire, the Keruga, like new takes on blue-white, and they still are somewhat medium, etc., etc. So I think there are a lot of decks to explore and find, and format is better than most people say it is.
Yep,
And
I
I'm
can believe
I'm
that.
I'm happy playing it actually. So like I found my way of cheating in the
That makes
form of
sense.
30 hasty worm with trample and hoping that opponent doesn't have Otawara. That's my thing.
Oh, that's why you hate Otawara. Okay, it all
Yeah.
makes sense now. But yeah, like my experiences with Pioneer was that I started playing Pioneer like mid-September, before like quote unquote GP Warsaw and RC in Sofia. And when I started playing it, I didn't like a format one bit. I thought it was pretty bad. And I kind of felt like I have to play it. Then after playing it for like month and a half, 2 months, fairly rigorously, like before Sofia, most of my awake time for 3 weeks was spent thinking about or playing or talking about Phoenix. And after that, I don't know if that it was like some very light version of Stockholm Syndrome or whatever, but I kind of thought that Pioneer is okay. Then I went back to Modern and I started playing, with actual good 1 and 2 mana cards all the time and cool mana bases. And I'm back with an opinion that I don't think Pioneer is that great. I think it's not terrible by any means, but Modern is just so much better. And I think that most people dislike of Pioneer comes from that Modern is just so much more fun to play, which doesn't make Pioneer bad. It doesn't make it.
You know what it reminds me, like when Wizards introduced Modern as a format.
Oh yeah, it has very
players,
like 2014 Modern vibes a lot.
Yeah, and Legacy players were like, OMG, Legacy gameplay is so much better. I will never play Modern because you don't have Brainstorm, yeah, and Wasteland and
Yep.
all other cool cards. And this reminds like this type of like talking about format and how Modern compares or what does not compare to Pioneer.
Yeah,
is
like
very similar to
I just think
the
that it was
discussion.
true back in the day. Like the gameplay, like if you are somebody who played Legacy and enjoyed Legacy for years, playing a format that was completely different. Like it was just something very natural for you to that make comparisons between those two formats. I think it makes perfect sense to like compare like the format that you play every day to a format that you that you kind of are invited to play now by WotC. And I'm once again, I'm not saying that Pioneer is bad. Pioneer is just not as fun as Modern to me because like I think Modern is like is at its best place right now. Like Modern has never been better than it was post Modern Horizons 2 in my opinion. And I think that it would be a very, very like universal opinion if Ragavan costed $10, not 80 or whatever. Like if no Modern Horizons card was allowed to be more expensive than $10, I think everybody would love this Modern. Like I think most people hating on Modern was hating on it because they used to buy into Modern back in the day, and now after Modern Horizons 2, they had to drop like I don't know $1,000 or $2,000 to like update their collections, and that's an extremely valid complaint. I get that, but still, the gameplay of this format is just insane. It's so good. Like you play those interactive and fun games, and even combo decks. Like you don't get that two ships passing at night feeling anymore unless you want to play one of those combo decks and you face another person playing combo deck. Then sure, yeah, you'll just race. But you don't have this feeling of like, I don't know, I'm playing blue-white control and I have 3 mana leaks and 4 cryptic commands in my deck and no other interaction. And I have like Path to Exile and I don't know, Restoration Angel, because that's the cards I have to play with. And my opponent will, I don't know, like
Phyrex and Unlife.
play Storm or play Phyrex and Unlife or whatever. And just either they will succeed or they won't. So I think the games are very engaging. And in general, I do think that Modern is in a great place right now. And I saw many discourses throughout the year, of course, as always, on Twitter. And it's a very common question to ask, what's the best deck in Modern? And instead of asking, we actually checked it. We gathered data from the point that Lurus got banned, which is 7th of March this year. So the weekend after that was like 13th of March was the first challenge post Lurus. Up until like the beginning of December, because the scraper that I'm using from Badaro, shout out to Badaro, and I hope I did not mispronounce your nickname. It only had data up till that point, and I analyzed every X2 or better score in every challenge, showcase, or PTQ, or super PTQ, as we usually do in our like monthly or bi-weekly or bi-quarterly rather, or however you want to call them, metagame updates. And this sample was like 10 times as big as, roughly like 10 or like 8 times as big as our usually like monthly sample, because it was usually it's like 2,300 rounds of Magic analyzed, or like from each side, so it's like half of that, like actual matches. And now it was like 20,000. And we took every deck that had at least 1% presence in those tournaments, so played at least 200 rounds of Magic. And we have, if I remember correctly, Sodek might freeze for a second, but I don't think he will. Yeah, we have 16 such decks, and to the surprise of literally actually no one, Merktide is and was ever since Lurus ban the best deck in Modern. There might be like brief periods of time, like particular weekend, where it's better to play any other deck, but Merktide is the best deck in Modern. And it's insane to me that I saw people on Twitter, like actual people who play this format a lot, and they didn't have Merktide in their top 5 Like, how you don't put Merctide in your top 5 when it's just the most popular and like reasonably successful deck week in, week out. So Merctide was the number one. I also posted all of those data on Twitter, on my Twitter, TSPNrec. And if I manage to make some elegant form of table, it will be on your screen right now as well. So either from Twitter or from the table that you are seeing right now, you can see that there was a surprising second place in this ranking. It was Rhinos, the 3-color Rhinos deck, which was kinda weird both because ever since Binding got printed in Dominaria, which was like 3 months ago, so like 1/3 of this period of time that I was analyzing, the Domain Rhinos deck was much more powerful, much more popular than the 3-color Rhino deck. And then I went and actually take a look at the results from like earlier this year, like summer, like spring, summer, basically up to the point when they printed Leyline Binding. And 3-color Rhinos just won so many things, like so many PTQs and showcases and challenges were like top 2 Rhinos. Like, I don't know. I didn't have much success this year in general in Magic. I won the PTQ, which was pretty cool. And I felt like some top 16 or top 32s in like GPs, quote unquote. But winning the PTQ and qualifying for the Arena PT was definitely my biggest success. And guess what? Which deck I split the finals with? Rhinos, because there was like Rhinos everywhere. And
you know what's important to like we are analyzing the metagame post Lurus ban, and you know what Lurus kept in check. Like Lurus was the most like Lurus made Grixis Shadow the most popular deck in the format, and Rhinos without Leyline Binding were absolutely like being crushed by
they've had
Grixis
like
Shadow. And right after the Lurus ban, Rhinos got the perfect environment to just dominate for a while.
And it also like was kind of close with the release of Kamigawa, and Cascade decks are the best Boseiju Otawaras decks in general. Because they need like, I guess Ren and 6 decks are the best Boseiju decks, but like in general, the very idea of channel lands I think are the most important in those Cascade decks that has to like can't play cheap spells, and at the same time they have to have high land count because they really need to hit their first 3 land drops, and they can't play any cheap manipulation. Well, Living End can play Cyclers, but still you do play like a bunch of lands. But yeah, Otawara and Boseiju were perfect for Rhinos, and also for Living End, which is the number 3 deck. So this notion of Merctide and Cascade being very important in the format is actually quite true. Even though Cascade had a bit more rough time in the second part of the year.
Like nowadays, Living End has a very rough time because Murtide is everywhere. Because Red Black Scam is a really strong deck as well. That are two the biggest problems, and there are like other lower tier decks that got really good tools to fight against Living End. For instance, Merfolks with new Lord, something Hexcatcher.
Vodalian Hexcatcher.
Yeah,
like Hexcatcher. They have like Hexcatcher, Chalice, Force of Negation, like just basically whatever they need to beat you. But yeah, like I think the data goes to show just how good Cascade is, and that it's still one of the most most important and most successful pieces of the format. Even though sometimes you have like a rougher time periods for those decks, even if it's like a longer period of time, like a couple of months, like for Living End. But in general, those decks need to be respected, and there is a reason that people have those like Chalices and I don't know, Tormod Scripts and Ley Lines in their sideboards and Flusterstorms. Like every blue deck basically plays Flusterstorm because of Cascade.
Yeah, Flusterstorm is also kind of cool in Counter Wars, so that's also a reason.
Yes. Then you have...
But
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going further ahead and just
Yeah, sure.
already
sure.
leaving Cascade behind. Then we have Yawgmoth, which was also like for like a fairly long period of time, like I don't know, 6 weeks probably. Yawgmoth had the best results in Modern by far, and it's mostly due to Demonic Tutors and Zerg being really good at playing this deck. But also, like, it's just a good deck. It's basically probably the best creature combo deck you had since Pod. I think it's better than Malaria Company ever was. Like,
Heliod?
oh, I guess Heliod. But Heliod also, like, I think Heliod kind of succeeded for this very short period of time when the metagame was kind of strange, and then Modern Horizons came, Modern Horizon 2 came, and Heliod basically was a deck that just preyed on the fact that nobody can kill a card Heliod.
And now we can.
And now you can, and then Heliod is just bad, while Yawgmoth is just... Yep.
Also, there are better ways to win after they gain infinite life.
That's
just
true.
Ragavan as a way to just mill them.
Yes. Like
the most strange way to win.
Yeah, Yawgmoth is just a much more like complete and resilient deck than Heliod ever was. So yeah, I think Yawgmoth is my bet for the best creature deck since Pod, like creature combo deck since Pod in Modern. Then we have Red Black Scam, which really took the second part of the year by storm, and like it's basically everything that Jant people wanted ever since like Jant stopped being good. I don't know, 5 years ago or whatever. Red Black is still like, at first I thought that it's somewhat of a gimmick deck. Then I thought it's more of a like actual Jant deck with some amount of combo in it sometimes. And then after playing and talking, playing against and talking to Red Black pilots, I'm more of an opinion that those like combo starts are quite a big part of the deck. Like, of course they were like important, but I was just, when I was playing in like Barcelona and online, I was just asking my scam opponents, do you think it's more of a combo or mid-range deck? And I think most of the time people would say that yeah, it's more of a like combo-ish. Like it's like Pitch Elemental plus Undying deck that has a decent mid-range backup plan. And yeah, it's basically like you have Thoughtseized and Tarmogoyf in one card and it costs 1 mana because you just need to play Grieve and Undying Evil it or whatever, or Feign Death or Malak Rebirth, whichever crappy trick you want to choose. But
yeah,
just a great deck. It's a great Blood Moon deck, which was also I
also
important.
think that Red Black Scam took the role of the policeman of the format in terms of creature decks and creature combo stuff. Like earlier, we had Omnat piles and like Uro piles back then. Nowadays we just don't have them. Please don't ever return. And red black, to be exact, turn 2 Fury, deal 4 to something, then reanimated.
Deal 8 basically.
Yeah, like deal 8, but a bit better even sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you could stack thing like I think you could stack it with Undying, because I was
yes you can. You can, of course you can.
Yeah,
like it's you can in like 2 different ways, I think, at least. But yeah.
The last thing, Ian Duke and Mark, please print something better for a 2-drop to this deck so they stopped playing Doughty Voidwalker. It's so annoying because like I feel that Living End matchup versus Scam is quite good, but Living End matchup versus Doughty Voidwalker is really bad. The same goes to another grave decks, and that's a shame that Red Black Scam has to play this type of really otherwise really bad 2-drop, because it can block attacks kinda.
Well, it's unblockable, so it attacks pretty well.
But it can block. It only attacks for free, and you spend 2 mana.
Yeah, well,
So-
I've had those. It's somewhat often you have those games against Scam when they go turn 2 Voidwalker, turn 3 Voidwalker, and they just start attacking you for 6, and you can't do anything because they like forces your removal spells. Like I think Sweeper. Like I was thinking whether Brotherhood's End is a good card out of Murktide against Scam, and I'm more and more convinced that it is. Because they just go like Voidwalker into Pyromancer and they suddenly have 4 bodies and you need to sweep them. But we digress. The last deck we wanted to talk about is the last deck that we had like in our like A tier, which was Hammer, and it's really weird to me. I'll be honest. I made this list with like some amount of ulterior motives because I saw people saying that all those decks are like the best deck in Modern, everything. Like anytime I saw somebody claiming that the best deck in Modern is something else than Murktide and Hammer, I was quite mad because I think it was just pretty obvious to me that those were the 2 most successful decks ever since they like got released or vastly upgraded with Modern Horizons 2. And seeing that Hammer was like, of course, those criteria are like we are trying to be as objective as possible. Like those are just numbers. Sometimes they line up in a way that we don't like expect them to, but still, like I thought that Hammer would be higher. It's still a great deck, and I do think that if you want to play, if you just want to one trick a deck in Modern, Murktide and Hammer are your 2 best choices, and I think that they're both like their win rate. Both of those win rates are dragged down by people who are not that great at playing it, because those decks are hard. Hammer, great deck. And I was just surprised that it was lower than I thought it would be.
I'm like considering the fact that we are analyzing times after Lurus got banned. It's not that strange because Hammer was one of these decks who were using Lurus as a companion.
Sure, but
and right after like the Lurus got banned, there were like 2 months where Hammer players were not able to find a good list.
I guess so.
We didn't have really good results then.
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But for the last like 5 or 6 months, you were like, oh, okay, yeah, Hammer, of course, will be on top. And Hammer was like one of the 2 or 3 top decks for the last like half a year or something. So that's why it's strange to me. But yeah, in general, I think Modern is great right now. I really enjoy playing the format. And one thing I don't like, I think that there are I guess 3 things. 3 problems with Modern. My 3 biggest problems with Modern are Ragavan on the play, Ren 6 on the play, and casting mid-range things with Cavern of Souls. I just think that it shouldn't happen. Like, it's obviously a much smaller problem than Ragavan and Ren 6, but in general, I do think that Cavern of Souls is a great way to like reward you for playing tribal and for playing big splashy things. Because if you get your 6-drop countered, that kind of sucks because your deck is all about like amassing this amount of mana to cast a 6-drop. And I think it's cool that Amulet gets to play Cavern of Souls. And I like that tribals get to play Cavern of Souls. What I really hate is Risen Reef and Omnath with Cavern of Souls, because like you just don't have a good like way to combat it, because Fortis is bad against like value mid-range piles. Removal is bad because they get to draw. You can't kill them quicker because they have Solitude and Fury and like Subtlety and Endurance, all those free spells. And you can't use something that was historically good against those decks, which is like you play cheaper counterspell on their more expensive Sorcerer Speed card because, well, they have Cavern of Souls. So I really hate that part of Cavern of Souls. I'm not saying ban Cavern of Souls, of course, because that would be ridiculous. But in general, I would just like to, I don't know, maybe Maro for Christmas. Just like Santa Claus is coming all around the world to give little kids presents, I really hope that you will just go to your magic sleigh and take a Sharpie and go around the world and Sharpie on every single Cavern of Souls that exists. You can't play Omnath off of it. And I just want that. This is my one wish for you, Maro. Just please Sharpie on every single Cavern of Souls that exists. But yeah, in general, like, I don't like how strong Ragavan is on the play. I don't like how strong Reminiscing is on the play. And if I was in charge of modern ban list, I would consider banning both of those cards, just because of how warping they are. Because I don't think that anything else is even comparable to how warping those cards are. So that's what I would do. But I think my biggest wish for Modern for 2023 is that Modern Horizons 3 or Lord of the Rings set, however it will be called, let's just call it Modern Horizons 3 for now, because we don't have an official name. I just really hope that this set doesn't fundamentally change Modern. Or Modern gameplay, rather. You can print a lot of good new cards, because of course you want to sell packs and make money. That makes sense. But I still want Modern to be this format that cares and revolves around interacting, that in which combo decks are interactive decks as well, where every game has a lot of play to it, and those games just feel satisfying. So I would really like for Modern to maintain its identity throughout the Modern Horizons 3 release. That's my biggest wish for 2023 regarding Modern. And regarding organized play, I already said I would really like for WotC to give us more money, either by paying for our flights or making those RCQs cheaper, or however they can help. Think they owe us that, even if it sounds really entitled.
Okay, quick pro tips for Maro and Ian Duke and the rest. How to make Modern even better. First, unban Fateless Looting, because Fateless looting was banned before Modern Horizons 2. Yes?
Yes, it's 2 years before Modern Horizons 2.
Yeah. So let's compare Fateless looting decks to decks that are nowadays. They won't be that good. So easy unban, in my opinion. Second, unban Golgari Grave Troll, because Dredge needs more support. You will never print anything better in terms of enablers, and Golgari Grave Troll will solve all the problems. Probably won't even, but that's the safest unban ever. And I would like to see card being banned, then unbanned, then banned, then unbanned again. That would be super cool.
No, that would be pretty cool.
And third, is there any other things?
Unban Splinter Twin. Unban Splinter Twin. Unban Splinter Twin. Unban Splinter Twin. I don't know if it will be good even, but please just do. I think
Unban Splinter Twin Hypergenesis, because it sucks. It's like a much worse living end.
Glimpse of Nature.
Glimpse of Nature, yeah.
Preordain. Like, you can unban a bunch of cards, I think.
Yeah. Like, reconsider unbannings.
Yeah, I think they might not do that because Lord of the Rings releases in like half a year. So they might want to wait after, like, half a year after that set. So there is also, I think the next time they will come again.
I think quite the opposite. If you want to unban them, this is the perfect time.
Oh yeah,
then
I guess
have a year to check if you make the second.
Yeah, I guess this is like a last second to do so. Kind of like you kind of have to do that around Phyrexia being released, I guess, because I assume Modern Horizons 3 will be released like June, July. Like I think it says Q3, which is like July to September, but I think it will be like early July, like just a summer supplementary
like
set.
Other Horizons set.
Yeah, more or less early July. So maybe like a month later than Modern Horizons 2, but still like.
You know what I would like to see in the format?
Yeah.
Something better for decks that were all around all the time, like Tron, Burn, etc.
That would be cool.
Revitalize them to make them a bit better.
I think it's very hard to upgrade Burn, for example.
Fire Blast.
Yeah, I guess Fire Blast.
Price of Progress.
I think Price of Progress is too good, and I think Fire Blast might be too good as well. I think you just make more spells that deal 4 damage. I think that's what Burn would like. Like, I don't know. add spell damage on +1 on Rift Bolt or whatever. Just make Rift Bolt that deals for damage. Make Skewer the Critics that deals for damage. Make Lava Spike that deals for damage.
Or like sorcery deal 3 damage to player, but the next instant or sorcery spell that will deal damage this turn deals 1 more.
Or print another Goblin Guide, another aggressive creature for burn. So they have 12 1-drops and they can reliably go 1-drop into 2 1-drops, or more reliably. So yeah, I think that if they don't change anything in Modern like next month or so, maybe like month and a half, they might wait until Modern Pro Tour, which we don't really know if it will happen next year. They didn't announce the format of the last PT. At some point they said that the format of the PT will always correspond with the format of the RC, and the RC for Season 3 is in Pioneer. But when they announced that the RC of Season 3 is Pioneer, they did not announce the format of the PT, and they announced formats of the PT beforehand, like with RC1 and RC2. So there's a chance that the last PT will actually be Modern. We don't know. We hope for it. And I guess that's a good note to end this video on. Just being hopeful, because Magic is in a good place. And it can be even better next year and in the future. Magic is not going anywhere. That's what I like. And I think you all like that as well, because Magic is just a great game.
I hope that I and Duke and Mark and everyone in the WotC made notes from our video, and like you can even say that they were your ideas. I don't care. Just
yes,
and we'll be pleased.
Okay. So as always, thank you so much for watching those videos. It's been a very busy year, and I guess 6 months with Mystical Teachings, and then before with Modern Solutions. We are really, really grateful for you watching those videos, because that's for whom we are doing those videos, for you to watch. I guess for me to have something to do with editing them, but in general, mostly for you. And I hope you have a really, really good holiday break. So happy holidays, happy New Year Eve, and we'll see you in January. Take care.
From my side, I want to thank all of our subscribers on Mystical Teachings. You are the guys who made us keep doing this. What we really love to do. So I hope you love our new content in like the end of December and in the beginning of the new year. We have a lot of new things prepared, and I hope you'll love it all. And again, happy holidays, and thank you for being here.
Bye-bye.
See ya.